Today we are going to be working on finding fractions on a number line. I want you to remember that there's two main steps to finding fractions on a number line. The first one is to count all the spaces between 0 and 1. The number of spaces you have between 0 and 1 will be your denominator. Then you count the sticks, but not the 0, until you get to the spot where your fraction is at, and that will be your numerator. We will work on some easy ones to start off with that are smaller than 1, and then we will work on a couple challenging ones that are going to be bigger than 1 whole. So then we could do it as an improper fraction or a mixed number. Let's get started. Your first problem is going to be this number line. When we look at this one, I want you to first think about counting the spaces between 0 and 1. Let's count these ones together. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 spaces between 0 and 1. That means that 4 is your denominator. The second step to solving it is to count the sticks but not the 0, and that will be your numerator. So let's start counting after the 0 until we get to our spot. 1, 2, 3. We stop at 3, and 3 is our numerator. That means we have 3 as a numerator and 4 as a denominator. That makes for 3/4. Now I would like you to try it on this one. Please pause the video and remember your steps. Count the spaces between 0 and 1, and that will be your denominator. Count the sticks, but not the 0, and that will be your numerator. Please pause the video and solve. The correct answer for this one is 5/8. There are 8 spaces between 0 and 1, and there's 5 sticks after the 0 to where the fraction is. So that makes for 5/8. I want you to look at the fraction that you came up with. Did you get the numerator correct? Did you get the denominator correct? Did you get the whole fraction correct? Or did you get both the numerator and denominator wrong? If you did, make sure you take the time on the next one to make sure you are counting the spaces between 0 and 1 to find your denominator, and counting the sticks but not the 0 until you get to your fraction for your numerator. Pause the video and try this one now. The answer to this one is 2/3. There are 3 spaces that are between 0 and 1, and there is 2 sticks that are after the 0. That makes for 2/3. Look at your numerator and denominator and decide how you did and grab the correct card. Pause the video and try this one now. The correct answer to this one is 6/8. There are 8 spaces between 0 and 1 and 6 sticks that are after the 0. That makes for 6/8. Pause the video and try this one now. The correct answer to this one is 3/6. There are 6 spaces between 0 and 1, and there's 3 sticks that are after the 0 to where our fraction is at. We can also call this one 1/2 because it is directly halfway in between the 0 and the 1. So 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. Okay, let's try some more challenging ones. As you can see, this number line is bigger than 1 whole. In fact, we go all the way to 3 wholes. So, when we have a fraction like that, we can do our first original 2 steps. Count the spaces between 0 and 1 to find our denominator. That means we do not count all the spaces that are on the number line. We are just counting the spaces between 0 and 1. So, how many spaces are there between 0 and 1? Pause the video to figure out your denominator now. You should have found that the denominator is 3 because there is 3 spaces that are between 0 and 1. Once you do that, you can do step 2, which is counting the sticks but not the 0 all the way to that fraction, which means you're going to have a large numerator, but your denominator is still going to stay at 3. So count the sticks now but not the 0 all the way to where our fraction is. Pause the video and figure out the numerator. You should have got a numerator of 8 because there's 8 sticks total, including the whole numbers, from the first stick after the 0 all the way to where our fraction is. So our numerator is 8. That makes for the fraction 8/3. Now, we don't always want to do that. Sometimes we want to do a mixed number so we don't have an improper fraction. So what we do for this is we jump all the way to the 2. So we say that there are 2 wholes, and that there's another 2/3 of a fraction. That gives you the number 2 and 2/3 as your other fraction. All right, third graders, it's now time for you to reflect on the station on how you did. Be thinking of what you need to remember when finding a fraction on a number line. How were you at finding the numerator? How were you at finding the denominator? Or if maybe you need more work with improper fractions and mixed numbers. Thank you for joining me today. Bye.